Okay. Hello and welcome to Lunar Pumpkin. I'm Emily and I'm an astrologer, intuitive tarot card reader and moon lover. I aim to help you grow your potential with the divine timing of the lunar cycle, and any products and services I have are all zodiac and affirmation and lunar related. So I am joined today, you'll see, by a lovely guest. We apologise for being a bit late. We were meant to be yesterday, but here we are. This is the wonders of technology. So who is Alan, my lovely guest? Alan Mitchell. He is an astrologer and intuitive coach, here to guide you through life's most complex and difficult matters using your birth chart. He was blessed with the gift of being able to connect with the outside world and would love to have the opportunity to connect with you and your universal current. Alan has always had a fascination with astrology and its scientific link to our internal and external world. Yes. Being a spiritual person, he believes that the universe has a way of guiding us forward through our lives with the help of the spirits, angels, and yes, even the stars. He was eventually led to study this esoteric language at Deborah Silverman's Applied Astrology School. And it's now his hope to take you out of the realm of confusion and self-suppression and help support you in self-actualization. So welcome, Alan. Hey.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for getting this together so we can talk a little bit about my journey, but also later on a little about what's going on in the cosmos right now as well.
Yes, definitely. So for anybody here who's astrologically minded or trying to learn a little bit more than what you'd see in a magazine or whatever, tell us your big three: your sun, moon, and rising, and how they play out in your life.
Yeah, so like my sun is going to be in Pisces, my moon is in Aries, and my rising is in Sagittarius. So elementally speaking, I'm like this double fire water. I definitely see that in my life because I'm really sensitive, but at the same time, I don't mind taking charge. Super creative and passionate about the things that I do put my energy into. So I kind of describe it as a warm bath. If you ever taken a warm bath and it's nice and it's cozy and warm and inviting, it's kind of like that. But I can also see how that fire and the water come together and it kind of creates steam. So all that Aries energy and Sag that wants to inspire and really promote optimism and joy, but also have compassion and sensitivity as well. So it's like combining that together kind of gives you an idea about how I can be goofy, I can be a leader, and I also can be like really nice as well.
Yeah, obviously I've got to know you over some time since we both did the School of Astrology from Deborah Silverman. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can definitely vouch for that. You've definitely got that compassionate side, but also quite funny, quite sort of mysterious and spiritual and woo-woo, should we say, but all that kind of thing. But then sometimes there'll be something that comes out of it that's really funny and like slightly quick-witted and there. So that's sort of the Sag fiery stuff, but then there's definitely a lot of the softer side and the compassion and mystery and spiritual, and yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and if you want to get more advanced, my son's in the third house, which is the Gemini house. So it's also like, how can you connect your head and your heart? Because all the words that we speak, all the intellect and everything, it's not, those distribution of all the fire, water, and that air energy. Some of it isn't the most compatible, but there is a combination that gives you a unique combination of how to put words to feelings and use that with your inspirational skills through all that fire energy that I have as well.
Yeah, definitely. So let's look deeper into your journey to astrology and everything else that you offer with the intuitive coaching, everything along those lines. So where did you start? Where was young Alan? And then where did he grow to? And how did he get to where he is now?
You know, it's interesting. Like my journey through astrology, I've always been interested in planets and astronomy. My dad got me my first telescope when I was about 13, 14. And for those that might not know, those are like Saturn, you know, points in your chart, which are very poignant in your purpose and your growth. So I had my first telescope when I was 14, and I remember using it all the time to look at the stars and look at the different constellations. And I had a magazine, and I would look up the different constellations that were in the magazine versus what I was seeing in the sky. And I would always go to Barnes and Nobles, and in Barnes and Nobles there was a New Age section. I would always find myself going into the astrology section where I was looking at the horoscopes and looking at my birthday and really kind of diving deep into more about me. And I kind of see, is this what I feel? Is this relatable to me? And I always felt connected to me being a Pisces, but I didn't know all the other, you know, planetary positions and what that meant. I just knew my star sign.
Yeah.
And it kind of snowballed from there. It never left me. I've always just been interested in that. And it wasn't until my Saturn return that I actually wanted to start my journey into creating a business around it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So for anyone who doesn't know, Saturn return is around the age of 29 to 30. And it looks at major changes or stepping stones in our lives where we need to become mature. So to some extent, it's like, right, okay, now we need to be an adult. How do we be on our own 2 feet? Have we got the structure and discipline in our lives for our best self, our personal growth, and where we want to be headed? So we're not listening to the world around us and basically things within our chart, our makeup, our blueprint. We're not listening to that sort of thing in our lives. We can go awry, and Saturn's there to sort of guide us and put us back on track. It rules the structures in our body as well, from our teeth and our hair and our nails and our bones, and what keeps us steady and sturdy there. But if you think about it planetary wise, it does a similar thing. So wherever Saturn is within your chart is where you're likely to find more support and structure. So being aware of where that is, if you know your own chart, or whether you go to an astrologer, just ask, oh, where is my Saturn? Have I had my Saturn return? Have I had that? Can you tell me a little bit about what's going on? They'll be quite happy to help you out.
And you know, and it also shows you where your limitations are.
Yes, definitely.
You know, that restriction with Saturn and limitations, which we'll get into later when we start talking a little bit more about some Gemini stuff, because that's very much what's going on in the cosmos right now. We have like some Saturn squaring some energies that we'll get into.
Yeah, we will. But let's get back to a little bit more about you. So, oh, that's weird. In my notes, I wrote a load of questions, and I've gone from 2 to 4. Where's 3 gone?
Well, there's 4 planets in Gemini right now, so that's a little, you know, hello, scatterbrained.
I am a Gemini, Sun and rising.
Yeah, so you know a little bit about Gemini.
Yes. So I know you offer readings for clients. What would a typical one look like for you, and what can a client expect?
So the astrology I do is birth chart reading. So I use your time, date, and place of birth to generate a birth chart. And so that's just where all the planets were the moment you took your first breath, when you incarnated, so to speak, into this life. And I use that as a tool to help guide you out of the realm of confusion and all that self-suppression that we talked about with my introduction, and help support you in self-actualization. So bringing an awareness to for you and how you can better navigate your relationships and have a better understanding of your own spirit, purpose, and energy. And I also do like synastry reading. So how do you take two charts and put them together and see how they relate to one another? So synastry chart reading is just basically a relationship reading.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a significant other. It's like your relationship with your um, brother, your sister, your mom, your kids. You know, it's a very a wonderful tool to really help guide those that might not really have much understanding of what's going on in their life. And this really is personalized because you are using it based on their particular time of birth. And sometimes I do a card pull at the end. I'm not a tarot card reader, but I enjoy that extra element of divination to help guide that person as a little extra bonus in my reading.
Yeah. Yeah, I say I'm an intuitive tarot reader. I have learned a little bit. I did some through Gregory Scott. He's an astrologer and tarot card reader and numerologist as well. So I did a course through him, but I'm not always doing it like on a daily basis, my tarot. So because I'm focused mostly on the astrology, although I can give interpretations here and there, and I know generally what a lot of the cards, well, what all the cards mean, should we say? But it's
Mhm.
just, yeah, I like to put intuitive, creative spin on things, because if you're reading something from a book, you're not getting the energies of what's there so
Mhm.
accurately. When you've got a client in front of you, there'll often be something that intuitively comes in, or there'll be something in the card that you think, oh, I feel that this could be the relevant key to what might be going on. And then you discuss with the client, well, how does that fit with you? And then in relation to
Mhm.
maybe there's another 2 or 3 cards if you pull those as well. Okay, now what's the general read of the story here?
Yeah.
There's so many different things that you can do. And as you say, if you pull one card, it can be nice to think, well, is that accurate to what's going on here? Does it give an extra layer? And often it does. I often find
Mhm.
that astrology and tarot work so well together. It's a beautiful
Yeah,
little
it's
pairing.
reading that current energy and vibration that you're putting off. So when it comes up, it's subject to change, you know, because
Yeah.
you change and you evolve and you grow. And so even with astrology, you're reading potential outcome because you have free will, right? You
Yes.
decide how you choose to react to the external forces. I'm just letting you know what forces and energies present
Yeah.
and what is influencing your personality. I'm not
Mm.
telling you what to do. I'm not telling you how to live your life. And if anything, it should enhance your relationships. It should enhance your religious energy, whatever it is that's going on in your life. I use it to really bring awareness into your life. So, because that's activation enough to do something about it. So now you're present with this awareness and you're able to take deliberate action and be more present in your life and to be more authentic. And that is my intention with astrology.
Yeah, definitely. I
Mhm.
find it's really useful to look at somebody's moon and their Mercury together as well, to see what their internal language might be and
Oh, that's
how they might
beautiful. Yeah.
see
Mhm.
whatever you're telling them. But I don't tend to go deep in with the moon first, because that can be the most sensitive part of someone's chart. And if someone doesn't want to dive directly into their emotions, usually when they first come to see you, it's a case
Yeah.
of, okay, well, tell me a bit about my sun sign, tell me a little bit about this, and actually what's going on. And
You know,
become
I
a little
honestly pick up the moon sign more than the sun sign. When people are like, "Oh, what sign do you think I am?" Like, well, first, I'm not a psychic, so I can't just guess what 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 sign you are right off the bat. But I am an empath, as my Pisces energy is, so it's a water sign, so it does pick up emotions. It is sensitive to
sure.
the energies around me. So I tend to like immediately be drawn to certain people, and I'd be like, I bet they're this. And when I ask them, and I usually always pull up their chart because I have to immediately know. And I'm usually right about their moon sign. I almost like skip the sun sign altogether because it's so surface level. And I go straight into like the emotional body because the moon represents that internal dialogue. What people don't really see, it's kind of like that subconscious energy, but it's such an important big part of you and how you respond to stress and everything. So I always mention the moon signs and seem to pick up on that before I do the sun sign.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I just like to know that some people can be more sensitive than others. So sometimes if we dive right in, it can be a trigger point for some people.
Oh yeah, you got to build that relationship right off the bat. And to your point,
exactly.
when you were saying like looking at the Mercury in their chart, absolutely. Like, how do I communicate with this person? How can I be on their level? How can I talk to them where they are receiving what I have to say?
Yes,
you know?
precisely.
So if you're looking at somebody that has a Mercury in a water sign, well, you might have to talk a little slower. Water's a little bit more quiet. It takes time to process information. So you want to say something and kind of have a little pause.
Yes.
So any of the like Cancers, Scorpio, and Pisces, like they need a little bit more time to process information. Give them time to go into their emotions real quick. Because they're not going to have the answers and recall right away. They might not remember all the details like air signs that are all intellectual, but they will remember how they feel.
Yes.
They can tell you in detail, oh, I was doing this and this is the way I was feeling, and describe it perfectly with their emotional body. So when you find that their level of intellect, and then you can go into the chart after that. And then, like you were saying, then we'll talk about the moon because now I know how sensitive they are and how I can talk to them.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I think that's a nice way to approach it. And as you say, that somebody with water may be more sensitive and there might be less words available at the beginning of trying to connect. And that's the feeling side. But then somebody with a Mercury and fire sign, so what are we? We're Leo, we're Sag, and what are we? Rain, I think. Come on.
Leo.
I've said Leo. Leo, Sag,
Aries.
and Aries. I forgot Aries. Sorry, Aries. Aries should always be first.
That's okay. 4 planets in air. Let's be a little airheads today.
Yeah. So
I think the moon is entering Leo. Not already. I think the moon is in Leo right now.
I
have
think
a
it's
little
due to.
app that I like to use.
Yeah, I haven't checked actually today.
No, it enters at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So probably about 8:30 your time, 8:40.
Okay.
PM.
Yeah, tonight then. Yeah.
Yeah. So later on today, we're going to have a fiery sky with the moon in Leo. And that's going to be a delicious combination with the sun being in Gemini. So this is kind of like, the fire and the air energy coming together, making a sextile that's really supporting and creating this beautiful energy of creativity and learning. And, it's a great time to go out and do something fun.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah. We should probably finish what we were doing with the Mercury as well while we're here. So, so then I say Mercury in fire signs, probably quite quick thinkers, quite quick talkers. And then we've got Mercury in the earth signs, probably, again, like water, slower to process thought and things, but very methodical. The analytical side of this, like the verbal side,
consistency and facts. Yeah,
consistency and facts, as you say. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, very result oriented with Mercury and Earth signs. So Earth signs for that is going to be Taurus, and Virgo and Capricorn.
Yeah.
which I love some earth
Yeah.
signs. I'm engaged to a Capricorn, so it really keeps me grounded and really allows me to start trying to compartmentalize my life and get things organized. Because as a Pisces, I can be a little aloof. It's like, oh, I just rather drift and dream and think about things today. But how do we solidify
Yeah,
that?
drift,
Take
dream,
that
escape.
imagination and really make it concrete, right? Like, how can we
Mm,
make your dreams a reality? Isn't that a best combination?
definitely. Oh, let's say hello back. Hi to Arishi Gupta. I hope I said your name correctly. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, so where were we at? We've had a look at readings and things and what you offer. So how do you put in things like spirituality, and do you do sort of angel readings and that sort of thing within your work?
Um, no, my kind of like spiritual practice and anything that I do, I think that's personal for everyone, and everyone's different, and I try to honor that for anybody. So whether you're a Christian, an atheist, a Buddhist, or whatever you are, like, you know, for me personally, I am a spiritual person, and I kind of do my clearing energy space ritual, whatever you want to call it, and um, with spirituality, I think for me, how I incorporate that into my reading is just me using my intuition. And when am in that certain frequency, I do get downloads and I can connect with the person. And sometimes I don't. You don't always connect with your client, and that's not a bad thing. Sometimes the energy is off.
We've got a question. Shall we see if we can help out?
Yeah.
Arishi Gupta says, I want to know about finances. Okay, so as far as finances, we're looking at.
Well, I think this is a great question to kind of talk about what's going on in the sky for everyone right now. So
Sure.
we have Saturn in Pisces that's squaring Venus in Gemini. So it's interesting that she's talking about her finances because Venus rules our value system, finances, money, the material stuff, relationships, and things like that, and aesthetics, right? So when you have Saturn that's talking about, okay, I like results. So it's like the keeper of material things, it's keeper of time, and it likes to build a solid foundation. And with that square on Venus, it's saying, it brings conflict and challenges and kind of wakes you up. And it's saying, like, how can I get my finances in order? So there's a direct um, kind of energy right now that everyone's kind of feeling like, how do I build a better relationship with my significant other, with my finances? Maybe you have debt you want to clear. So her asking or them asking that question is right on point with the energy that's going on right now.
Yes, because with Saturn in Pisces, which is, I say, part of that square, it can be less in the way of sort of fixed energies. It's very mutable, it's flexible, it's kind of, right, what's the clear path here? Because it's the spiritual, but it's also, it's not the fixed, definite answers that we probably want when it comes to financial realms of things. So it does leave an element of mystery there. What are your thoughts as to how that might affect it?
Well, I mean, first you would need that person's birth chart to know exactly because it is a more deeper conversation than I want to know about my finances. I was like, oh, okay. So I would suggest, like, book a reading to dive deeper into that. because I don't know where their Venus is in their chart. I don't know the second house, which also rules your
Yeah.
personal finances and resources. So you would have to, they would have to know like that information for me to give them a direct answer on such a question. But generally speaking, there is a focus on how can I build? How can I stop limiting my beliefs around my personal resources, my self-worth, and in my relationships? So that square is going on right now, and it's a direct degree. It's exact degree right now with that energy. And so we're all collectively feeling it, especially Geminis, because it's affecting them on a personal level.
Mm.
But they're because they have three squares: the Mercury, Gemini, Sun, and the Venus are all squaring right now with Saturn.
Yes. So as Alan was talking about, I would also look at those financial houses as well as where your Venus is. So Venus is our planet of like value. So that can be finances, but it also can be about the values we hold individually, what's important to us, what's beautiful to us. And then if we're looking at, say, our second house, it is usually the house where we make money. But then we look at the opposite, the eighth house, it's the house where we often receive some money, or it's can be shared money. So if we've got money with a partner or in a business partnership, or there's lots of different things to look at. Depending on where all of that is for you, along with the transit that Alan was quite beautifully depicting there, there's just a lot to look at. So yeah, it'd be best to probably go to an astrologer to look personally at your own chart, but I hope we've been able to answer a little bit of it for you.
Yeah.
Are you a Gemini sun as well?
Yeah, Gemini or Pisces. Those are going to be directly impacted, but I feel
both of us then.
collectively, we're all that's being brought into focus right now for everyone.
Yeah. So actually, that's a good idea. Jupiter's also in Gemini at the moment, isn't it?
Yes.
Which will be for a whole year.
Yeah. It's not exactly wearing everything else, though, but we do.
No.
Yeah.
I just thought generally for ways that people want to look at sort of expansion in their lives and sort of luck and finding joy, growth, all that sort of thing. It might be nice to go through where it is for each sign. Are you happy to go through that with me?
Yeah. So we're looking at Jupiter and going through each sign with Jupiter and how that's affecting them.
Yeah. So for instance, Jupiter in Gemini, so Gemini rising would have that in their first house. So first house for Jupiter, Gemini, that would be kind of, right, we're looking at identity and appearance and the actual physical body and that sort of thing. So how do we then look at what that might be like for Gemini?
Yeah, so I think it's good to let's describe Jupiter, right? So Jupiter is the biggest planet in our solar system. And so with Jupiter, anything that involves Jupiter, there's this expansion, there's this growth, there's this exaggeration that Jupiter brings into any sign or conjunction or aspect to the planets and what house it's in. So Jupiter is also known as the planet of abundance or luck. It's a benefic planet that is kind of like this optimistic energy, and it's the ruler of Sagittarius. So each planet is ruled by a specific sign, and Jupiter is ruled by Sag. And anything that you look at Jupiter in, it's going to expand, it's going to exaggerate, like we said. So with it being in Gemini, let's talk about Gemini. So Gemini is an air sign that rules like our intellect, our technology. It is like anything that is like reading or writing. So it's a great time to expand upon maybe um, studies, right? So like you can expand upon like maybe learning something new during this time. I know it's summer and like a lot of people are out of school and are graduating, but some people are going to like summer school. Like my fiance's in his doctorate program right now. So it's a great time to also expand upon your knowledge and learn something new. You don't necessarily have to go to a like traditional school. Maybe it's like I'm going to journal and be able to express myself in a bigger way, right? And Jupiter is also trining Pluto, and so that's kind of like that extra like power and focus and transformation in those energies and higher ideals because Pluto's in Aquarius right now. So we have that in the first house. So like if you're having it in the first house, number one, it's going to be a person with more of an exaggerated personality because anything in that house is going to make it bigger and exaggerated. And the first house represents the self.
Yeah.
And so because of that, you might overextend yourself, you might overeat. So you sometimes those people tend to be a little bit more heavier in weight, right?
Yeah, so also in medical astrology, Gemini rules the hands, the arms, and the lungs. So something that might be really quite lovely to do if you're taking care of your body, if you're in times of stress or anything like that, really focus on some breath work, or whether it's just noticing if there's a song in your head, feel free to sing it if there's no one around or you don't mind someone hearing, or if there's something you want to express. And how is your talk to yourself? How is your self-talk? Is it optimal? Are you being kind to yourself as well as others when you speak, whether or when you think or when you're writing? But also, so if we're looking at this mostly for the body, it's, are you internalizing things like anger and stuff, or are you actually healthily expressing this so it doesn't become stored in the body? We went quite deep there for just one sign, didn't we? But it is Gemini, and that's where we're at, Gemini season.
Yeah, and you know, Gemini is flirty, it's fun, it's intellectual, it's you know, it gets bored easily, so it enjoys a good conversation that where they're learning something new. If they're not learning something, I'm telling you, a Gemini will check out.
Yes.
If you're not tickling their interest or actually giving them something that they can actually apply or gossip about, even on that level, you know, they love a good like love a little good tea. They like the tea. You're like, let me know about what's going on over here because I want to know what the neighbor's doing.
Spilling the tea.
Yeah, so like, but if they're not learning anything new, they're like, goodbye. I'm gonna go be doing something else because they can literally do 3 different things at one time, and you know about that as a Gemini yourself, right? You always have to be doing something.
Yes.
And I was like, you know, when you think about like the elements, Gemini is an air sign, so yes, they can be a little bit of an airhead, right? But like air is everywhere, so you have to put it in a container, so it has to have some sort of form. And you know, they make great actors. Gemini are like the mimics of the zodiac. So they can like read a script and their intellect is like, okay, I got it. So they're quick intellects, I got what they want me to do, and then they can just like create the character. You know, because they're so good at looking at something and mirroring it back. and it rules language, so they can get the accent down and they can get the personality type down. And some famous actors that come to mind, there's like Johnny Depp and um, Natalie Portman. They're Gemini. And they're phenomenal actors, in my
Yeah, I
opinion.
was going to say, love you both.
So, but they're so good at it. I mean, Geminis are great storytellers, which I happen to enjoy as a Pisces.
Yeah. What would you like to do? Would you like to carry on with Jupiter and the other signs, or should we go straight on to some more things to talk about you and about general?
Yeah, did you finish your questions, or we can move on to something else? Do you have any more?
Yeah, no, I've got loads of questions. So actually, that's a good one. Have there been any sort of struggles or challenges within your business or personally that you'd like to talk about, and how you've overcome those? Whether it's
Well, any struggle kind of comes with, I think, self-doubt. You know, like I feel like anybody that tries to start a business or does something for the first time to try to create a better life for themselves, or that's not just about my business, but like at large, like I feel like that critical self-doubt is what kind of either motivates you or keeps you from doing stuff. So like for me personally, I live with Saturn squaring my sun, and that's what's going on right now. So there's a lot of people right now with this Saturn squaring the sun collectively, where we're like at it, we're at self-criticism and self-doubt, because that's what this square brings, with that challenge of that tension between the Saturn and the sun. And I was born with that signature. So like the self-expression of being able to express myself has been a little bit harder, because I think, well, I could be doing this better, or it's not more about just being a perfectionist. It's about like, I don't think I'm worthy enough, right? Because when you talk about your identity and you talk about your self-expression, it's limited by that Saturn.
Yeah.
And so that has been a challenge with the business of promoting myself more, or marketing. Like I don't always feel comfortable being on camera and doing videos and things like that. I kind of get in my own head, and I'm not one to like the spotlight, right? Pisces kind of works in the background of things, and it's a little shy. And then when I have that Saturn squaring the sun, for me, it kind of shows up like that. It's like, it feels like, I got to make sure I'm doing this. And you get the shoulds and the everything like that. I should be doing this. I need to be doing that. So you kind of grow up a little bit more quickly with that signature.
Yeah, I'm sure there's been ways that you've worked against that, or worked to trust yourself more, rather than allowing it to stop you from living your dreams.
Yeah. But again, remember, I have all that fire energy that we talked about in the beginning. So I have an Aries moon, and I actually have a stellium in Aries. So that's just a funny little word of when you have a concentrated amount of planets in that sign of 3 or more planets. So I have this stellium in an Aries that pushes me to just go through with it. I won't take no for an answer. I just have to put myself out there, because I do want to inspire and help others. And in so I also inspire myself.
It's interesting that we're using the word inspire quite a lot, because actually when we talk about breathing, when we take in our first deep breath, that's inspiration.
Yeah.
Literally, our breath is inspiration. So if we're using our words and we're using them wisely, we're also using the breath, and it's actually optimizing the world around us. So what you think one breath is like the idea of lighting one candle somewhere, and we can all share within that light. That's kind of a thought I've been going
Yeah,
with.
I love that. Yes, absolutely.
Because from
Because
one candle, you can
words
keep
do
lighting
matter,
others.
and like what you say and how you present yourself does matter in that way.
But also, we don't want to get too wrapped up in it. And as you say, the Saturn shoulds that a lot of people are probably feeling right now.
Yeah.
It's heavy.
Yeah, I mean, that tension in the sky right now is kind of difficult. And having 4 planets, I mean, there's 10 planets altogether when you count the sun and the moon. And when you have 4 planets in that sign of Gemini, I mean, there's a whirlwind of energy. So, like, it's a busy, busy month, right? There's a lot going on. And Saturn square is saying, hey, can we just, like, before we, helicopter off and get too crazy in all kinds of different directions, can we ground ourselves? So it's putting that focus and tension to say, can we wake up and be a little bit more present and think about things before we do them? So it's a great time to really, as a directive, to journal, to write, to maybe even do poetry, because Saturn is in Pisces. So again, connecting that head and that heart of how do I express myself through the arts. Right? That can help ground you and get rid of that static energy, and maybe even having a conversation and using someone as a soundboard. I always find that therapeutic. Like, Geminis love to talk. Okay. And sometimes they talk to talk. And then you get all that static energy out of their head. So the nature of a Gemini, it wants to use their words, but sometimes they just have all that static energy that's not going anywhere. So a great way to contain all that energy, says Saturn. I kind of use Saturn as the chaperone of the zodiac. It's like, I'm going to hold your hand and I'm going to sit there and watch everything that you do. So I make sure you're doing the right thing. That's why you feel the should, right? You always feel like somebody's watching you. So in order to ground all that air that we have going on in the cosmos, that's the sun, Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter, that's in Gemini with Saturn, squaring all this energy, is saying, can you use the high road of this energy to create results and a solid foundation? And I actually, for me, with Venus squaring that Saturn right now, I'm looking at my own finances, right? I'm looking at recently, how can I pay down debts? And we're actually looking at taking an equity line of credit out of our home so we can pay off our debts and then, get married. Like, Adam and I have been married for or engaged for a couple of years, and we want to actually have a wedding. So again, relationships and finances with that Saturn square, can I build a solid foundation? And, from what's going on for me personally is like, how can I build the structure of my relationships and get married, but also take care of any incurred debt and finances, so we can have like a better solid foundation to move forward.
Yes. I was thinking also, Pisces energy can also be about romance and compassion and charitable giving and things. So if it's with Saturn in Pisces, it's giving structure to all of that.
Yeah.
But as you say, if we've got the square thinking about finance, that's a perfect depiction how you've described it of what you and Adam are doing. It's actually, how can we have the structure behind our romance, our creativity, our spiritual side, so that we can live a better life? And how can we put the words to that? So the words would be the marriage vows or whatever, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It's just, putting that all together. Well, it's beautiful.
Yes. And funny enough, my relationship or 7th house is ruled by Gemini, right? So I am feeling this directly impact not only being a Pisces with the Saturn energy in there. So I'm feeling those limitations and restrictions in a personal way. And it's squaring all that Gemini energy. So there's a lot of activity in my 7th house. So I am feeling like, okay, I really want to get not just myself in order, but I want to make sure that my business, my finances, my personal resources, my relationships, all that will be in high focus while
Yeah.
this transit is going on. And it certainly has been a theme.
Hmm.
Sometimes I think, gosh, this is so weird how it lines up. I still get amazed by astrology and how we're directly impacted by external forces, all these planetary bodies floating around. Because, it seems like it's a bunch of woo, but it's so practical and there's a science to it. And we do have an energy response to these transitions going on, which I
Yeah.
love. And a good thing that I would like to a directive that I would help people with during this time is, with that critical self-talk that can be with the shoulds, especially with the square going on right now. Oh, sorry. Hold on.
I know you're there. I can hear you.
No, my camera decided to die on me.
We can still hear you though. So if it
Yes.
comes back, great. If it doesn't, well, at least we can hear you.
I'm going to switch cameras. There we go.
Aha, there we go.
My battery life on the other one died, so I probably didn't need to get a new battery. It doesn't hold a charge very, very long.
Okay.
Um, anyways, what was I saying? I forgot. I have a Gemini moment.
You were talking about a directive that might help people at this time.
Oh yeah, the I Am app. So if you look on your apps and you can download the I Am app, it's a great app that I always tell people about with any type of um, problems with critical self-talk, or maybe they want a positive mantra in their life. That app is so great because it kind of texts you affirmations. So you get
Hmm.
like these positive daily affirmations throughout the day that it texts you randomly. And I find it, a great reframe when you're having a bad day or something's going on and you're getting flustered. And then all of a sudden you get this ping on your phone and you look at it and then it'll just say, you are enough and you're doing better than you think, or something like that. And you're like, you know what, I am.
Ah,
So it's a great way to like pause and look at any situation that's going on in your life in maybe a positive way. So I
yeah.
love the I Am app. So just saying, that's been a great thing for me. And
Mm.
usually it's something that I tell people in my readings, if they're having some sort of issues with that, with any type of limiting beliefs they have about themselves. And I did want to mention, like, with Saturn being in Pisces and you're looking at all that square energy, you have to look at also the low level of what Pisces represents. So there's an escapism and
Yes.
illusions. So, what is your illusion that you have in a relationship? How do you escape into the relationship? Maybe you're codependent, and um, you kind of escape into the relationship so you don't want to be alone, right? So when you're looking at this square and all this other energy that's going on, ask yourself, how are you limiting or restricting your self-expression? You may feel weighed down by social expectations. What are your misunderstandings you have about your own communication? Because Saturn's also squaring Mercury, which rules communication,
Mm.
and challenges surrounding your relationships and your value system, your money, your self-worth. But how are you escaping into your own personal life? Like, can you build a better relationship, right? So I did want to say, like, your that illusion surrounding those things is important to note,
Mm.
because we do have a certain mindset of what we think based on the societal pressures of how we should be and act. And so, what are the illusions that you have surrounding a relationship? Maybe it's not following the status quo of it.
Yeah, but also the lower levels of Pisces can surround things like addiction as well. So maybe if that's something that people are struggling with, it's a great time to access therapy or do spiritual practices that usually would support you on a day-to-day basis, and really make sure you're sort of taking stock of those and leaning
Yeah.
into that.
It definitely, and that's the importance of a Saturn square or any square. It wakes you up. It says you are going to pay attention to this, whether good or for bad. You can try to ignore it, but then you're going to have certain situations that arise and says, are you going to deal with it or not? And if you choose not to react, then, there's another side to that. That person could, leave the relationship. So there is a focus on how are you going to build a better situation for yourself, because Saturn wants you to succeed. It wants you to build something substantial that's long lasting. It's ruler of Capricorn. So anything that Capricorn, does, they're doing it for a reason. They're very purpose driven. And accountability comes into question as well.
Yes.
So it's like, hold yourself accountable for the things you've done in the relationship. Hold yourself accountable for your finances, saying, did I collect this debt? Of course I did. I'm the one that swiped that credit card, right? So that tension that we've been talking about is really saying, how can you now have we put it into awareness, but how can we actually do something? Because it's very result oriented.
Yes. But also, I think of Capricorn, I think of ambition, I think of leadership, and generally having the grounded, physical, tangible results from
Absolutely.
all that hard work, of working smartly rather than working too hard and getting too bogged down by, what's done, what's not done. It's, there's a lot there.
Think about it, it does take time. So it's not like this situation is going to change overnight. I mean, to get to the point where you are in the relationship or with your finances or with your self-worth and your values, like, it's been a lifelong journey. But this square is just saying, hey, can we just like think about this now? Because you are important, and it's important to kind of wake yourself up and say, I matter. Let me kind of clean up my own mess and hold myself accountable. But when you realize that and stop fighting it and stop saying, well, I didn't do that, or it's their fault, and you want to play that blame game, you are the common denominator in your life. So you're really only hurting yourself in the long run. But that tension is real. So, like, I've had several people message me with either relationship concerns and finances concerns recently within the past week. And I did give them a little breakdown of what's going on and why they're feeling this way, and realizing that, hey, whatever your situation is, this awareness, now you can do something about it, because it's not going to be forever. This tension is eventually going to lessen as the planets move. But right now, if it's something that you're really thinking about with all these planets in Gemini, and you still have Jupiter in the mix, so it's still going to be like something good is on the way, right? So it's going to be like, I understand you're having all these troubles, but I'm here to support you and let you know that when one door closes, another one opens, or whatever that saying is. Like, it's going to be okay. Like, sometimes some things don't work out, or sometimes things do, but here comes the Jupiter planet, says, I got your back. Everything's going to be fine. Don't worry.
Yeah, so for everybody, wherever their Jupiter is, there's that feeling of expansion and abundance and finding a bit of joy and higher learning and all that jazz.
Yeah. The square is just saying there's a breakdown. If it had like weak foundation to begin with, it's collapsing. You're already feeling it. Like, it's done. It's in the middle of, like, okay, we've tried to. I've heard somebody that I know they had a business and they're closing their business. So like it's just right now where things that are meant to be are happening, things that aren't meant for you and just hasn't had a solid foundation right now. It's rearranging, you know.
Mm.
But Jupiter's saying, that's okay. I'm coming through and we're going to have a new start.
Mm. Yeah.
We're going to have a new start and even better than what was before. So it's like, keep your chin up.
Yeah. So can you tell me a few things that you're proud of in your life?
You know, I am proud of, that's such an interesting question because when you think, oh, am I proud of this or I'm proud of like some sort of accomplishment, for me, it's more of like I'm proud of my self growth. Like when
Yeah.
I look back at who I was as a kid, which I mean, I've always been very inquisitive. I've always been interested in other people's stories. I've always been someone who would ask the hard questions because I was very curious. Um,
Mm.
but I've learned that I am enough and that I am the creator of my own reality. I am the one who is in the driver's seat. I can make things happen. And growing up, I just feel like I was very much who they wanted me to be. You know, I didn't
Mm.
know who Alan was. I didn't really have a strong sense of self. Right. And it took, a betterment of over 30 years to really feel like right now I'm more me than I ever have been in my entire life. And that I am proud of.
Mm.
You know, I'm proud of me going through, just a difficult year. You know, my mom passed away a couple weeks ago, about a week and a half ago. And, it's just been a reminder that I'm proud of the person I've become and something that she would be proud of.
Brilliant.
And I think that's what I'm proud of most is just me being the better version of myself.
So it sounds like there's been issues with sort of looser or more open boundaries, should we say, and rather than having clearer
Yeah,
outlined
I had,
rooms in your life.
absolutely. I didn't have very great boundaries, and even now I struggle with it.
Mm.
um, I think because I'm so receptive to people's
Yeah.
energies, I'm so receptive to my environment that it was just easier to morph into that. But the
Mm.
problem is, yeah, it can be a little bit easier, and I can connect with people in such a unique way because um, I'm feeding off their energy or whatever. But I lose that sense of self. So, like maintaining that boundary of still being able to do that, but know who I am.
Yes. And how amazing is that though, that within those final few weeks to moments with your mum, that
Mhm.
actually she was able to see that you've got more of a handle on that, and actually this is the real Alan coming through, and he's going to be supported now, he's going to be fine because he knows who he is.
Yeah, and she's part of my, you know, my team, my angels, my guides now, and I know that she's watching over me and and loving me in a different way and guiding me in a different way than in her physical self because she had advanced dementia, so for
Yeah.
the past 7 years she was nonverbal and not really able to move and speak. So she now I feel is just in a better place to where maybe we can feel a little bit more connected,
Yeah.
because there was that restriction on her ability to physically speak or move and tell me
Yeah.
directly. But I know that I have so much in her that she would be proud of the person I've become.
Brilliant. So how do you manifest your dreams in reality and stay consistent with the goals and things that you're working on?
You know, I remain flexible. I know that sounds a little convoluted or like, one line answer, but I think that's important because even when I create a goal, right, I need to remind myself that I have a lot of mutable energy in my chart, meaning flexible and things that change and always evolve and always grow. So I remain flexible in order to allow what is meant for me to come to me, because even when I have a plan and I thought something was going to go a certain way and it doesn't, it causes a lot of discord and stress. And I've learned, in order to just allow and to trust the process, helps in any sort of manifestation going on in my life or things that I want to accomplish. Now, on the flip side of that, you can be so flexible and to where you're just not moving at all. You still want to move forward.
Yeah.
If you're just so I still want to stay grounded and practical to where I'm actually moving towards something.
It's those daily aligned action steps. That's what I talk to people about.
Yeah, affirmations help. We just had a new moon, and like journaling helps no matter what is going on. Like for me, like if I talk about it and say it out loud, I'm a very much auditorial listener and like auditorial learner, and I learn through like listening and writing things down, and it helps kind of like clear all that static energy in my head. So I feel better and grounded after that.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we wrap up? And
no, the main thing is I was just gonna was just recapping on the Saturn energy with that square and the Gemini energy, but we already talked about it.
Yeah. Cool. So where can people find you?
So you can actually find me on Instagram at Alan Mitchell Astrology on Instagram. And I also have a website. So it's alanmitchellastrology.com. And that's where I do, where most people can find me. And my emails are on there. So if they email me, you can find it through those platforms and website.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Alan, for joining me today. And I hope that anybody who's joined us has enjoyed our conversation as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Emily.
You're welcome to stay a little bit after if you want to, Alan. But I'm going to wrap up the live stream in just a moment. So thank you, everybody, and we will see you soon.
Yes.